Hello and welcome to my Autism Ally podcast, where we come together to share helpful information about autism. In this special education episode, we are speaking with LaToya Allen from Northeast Indiana Youth Vocational Rehabilitation. We're going to talk about Pre-ETS. So what is Pre-ETS? Pre-ETS stands for Pre-Employment Transition Services. This is a great opportunity for our students 14 to 22 to have access to meaningful career planning in order to help with the seamless movement from high school to employment or any secondary training. Hi, LaToya.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, so we asked you here to talk about Pre-ETS and what does Pre-ETS do and how does it relate to vocational rehabilitation?
Well, Pre-ETS stands for Pre-Employment Services, and it's for students with a disability aged 14 to 22. The student must be enrolled in school, homeschool, middle school, high school, and we even work with college students. Back in 2014, changes were made to the Federal Vocational Rehabilitation Law, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and they added these Pre-ETS employment services to this law, so we will be able to help students with disabilities to find a better employment outcome. Pre-ETS requires Voc Rehab to use their funding up to 15% to provide these services to our students.
Now, does a child or a kiddo have to have vocational rehabilitation to get Pre-ETS, or is that a separate thing, or how's that work?
No, your kiddos do not have to have Voc Rehab, and actually a kiddo can have Voc Rehab and Pre-ETS. What separates Voc Rehab and Pre-ETS is done first. We like it to be done first. And the student is in school, the student can work with a career coach, and we'll talk about some of that career coaching stuff later, while they're in school. Now, Voc Rehab, you can sign up. You can do more with Voc Rehab because Voc Rehab can do some funding things that Pre-ETS cannot do.
Now, you say we can have both for our kiddos, so...
Well, we can have both, but I'll give you an example. A student may work with a Pre-ETS career coach to do some researching on post-secondary opportunities and then sign up for Voc Rehab. So Voc Rehab can assist the student with purchasing assistive technology, to go to college, even help fund some of the college classes, and even help with housing.
So you can have both and benefit from both.
Yeah.
So what does Pre-ETS all cover? So what are we learning in that Pre-ETS class?
Well, Pre-ETS covers 5 required activities or areas, such as job exploration counseling. The student will work with their career coach, learning what jobs are out there, labor interest inventories, career pathways, and et cetera. Anything about a job or a career, you'll learn about that. Then we have some work-based learning, and work-based learning includes job shadows, internships, work experiences, and work-based learning even includes volunteering and self-employment. And then another one of our activities is workplace readiness. And these are skills that a student or even an adult will need to learn how to get a job, independent living skills, learning some soft skills. And students will learn instruction and self-advocacy. They will learn about self-awareness, how to disclose their disability, whether to an employer or maybe a college disability office. Students will also know about their individual rights and responsibilities. Then our last one, counseling or opportunities for enrollment and transition or post-secondary education programs. So this is where the student really will still continue to learn about the careers and career pathways, learn about post-secondary education opportunities in our area or their area, such as colleges, apprenticeships, on-the-job training. Students will be able to attend college fairs and tours.
Cool. Now, with that, for that Pre-ETS program, does that continue on through summer, or is that just during the school year?
Now that depends on the Pre-ETS provider. In Northeast Indiana, our Pre-ETS providers will be having summer programs, and depends on what school district you live in, but our Pre-ETS providers in our area are Goodwill Industries, Easton Still Arc of Fort Wayne, and InSource.
So how do I get my kids started in services in the school for Pre-ETS?
Well, the first thing that you want to do is talk to your student's teacher of record or a special education staff or their guidance counselor to see if there's a Pre-ETS provider located in the school. If not, the parent or guardian can contact the local VR office and ask to speak with a youth rehab counselor, or they can even ask that person, usually the secretary, they answer the phone, about Pre-ETS. Also, the parent or guardian can email the director of youth services for Voc Rehab, and that information is located on the state of Indiana Voc Rehab website.
So it's the same number that you would call to start Voc Rehab services, right?
Usually.
Same number. So if our children are 16 to 22 and are in college but didn't get Pre-ETS prior to leaving high school, are they still eligible for Pre-ETS?
Yes, they are. And in our Northeast Indiana area, we do have those providers working with college students. So the student would contact the disability service office of that college or university they're attending and tell them that they're interested in Pre-ETS.
So the age to qualify is what again?
Students, and I put an emphasis on students with a disability age 14 to 22.
Is there a cost for Pre-ETS?
There's no cost for Pre-ETS because that's federally and state funded. But however, when students are working with their career coach, they may need some spending money when they meet out in public. For example, if the student is doing a work-based learning experience and the student is visiting the zoo, the student may bring some spending money so they can buy gifts from the gift shop or eat lunch from the food trucks. And sometimes the Pre-ETS provider will pay for the students to go to that zoo, and sometimes that student might have to bring their own money. It just depends on that Pre-ETS provider.
What's the benefit you see in the kids that you've worked with, for instance, even?
So one of the main benefits for Pre-ETS is pretty much pre-employment services, getting the students involved in their future, getting some of that experience of what it's like to work at some of these places, what it's like to go to college, just getting some real life experience before they turn to the age where they're independent and on their own. We work with students in workplace readiness, life skills. We work with students who do not know how to use a microwave, who do not know how to use laundry. And some of the Pre-ETS coaches that I work with actually work with some of those students and taught them those skills. The benefits of Pre-ETS maybe is to help the schools. I know a lot of the transition teachers are concentrated on creating a portfolio. Before a Pre-ETS coach can get paid by the state of Indiana, they have to do those 5 required activities that I had listed before, and they have to complete a student portfolio. And in that portfolio, it has a resume, a cover letter, a list of skills the students acquired, community resources, and usually the Pre-ETS coach will document obstacles the student might have, certifications if any student has learned anything. I'm working with a Pre-ETS coach in another county, and he's helping his students receive their ServSafe certification. So he's gonna put a copy of that in their portfolio. And then the Pre-ETS coaches share the portfolio with the teacher, with their students and their teachers and parents. When they apply for Voc Rehab, they can take this portfolio with them and use this for documentation that they are ready to look for employment. Usually these portfolios will either have their student IEP or a 504 plan in there, or their documented disability. So when we add that to the portfolio and they meet with Voc Rehab, Voc Rehab has some of the documentation they need to make them eligible. So when the student has that portfolio and they go to Voc Rehab and then they start doing their discovery process, a lot of these work experiences and stuff that's in that portfolio can help that employment service provider that's contracted through Voc Rehab to guide that student to the career or job that they want.
It's kind of just like a snippet of them and what they like, dislike, have done, just their experience in general, basically.
Correct.
Well, awesome. So obviously you recommend kiddos get started in this as soon as possible. They do need to have an IEP, or can they have a 504 and get Pre-ETS?
So in order for the students to really get started in Pre-ETS, they must have an IEP or a 504 plan or a documented disability form, something signed by a doctor or mental health physician, licensed nurse practitioner, one of the three. Some people feel, and it's kind of confusing, that they need all three. You just need one of the three to get started. It's nice to have the IEP or the 504 plan because that tells more about the student. How's the student in school? Does the student need accommodations in school? And that career coach can read that IEP or 504 plan and say, okay, the student might have an issue with reading and writing. So that might be something we need to start working on during our workplace readiness training.
So once we get that started, if we have questions about the program, do we take that to the Pre-ETS program that is in our building?
Yes, I would recommend talking to the Pre-ETS provider in your school. If not, you can call the Voc Rehab office. You can also go to the Voc Rehab website and look under Voc Rehab. There's a tab that says Pre-ETS. And if you click that tab, it'll have all the Pre-ETS providers listed within the state of Indiana. And I have a definition, what is Pre-ETS? And it will have all the youth counselors' information located on that website. And there's also a document on there that will say what schools they cover.
Well, this is fun because this is one of the areas I think I enjoy the most, is getting that individual with a disability more access. They do usually need a little more time with things. So this is kind of cool. Pre-ETS is like that. Let's start thinking about it before it's a thing. And this is giving them the opportunity to learn some of those skills. And if you don't do it, you don't know about it as a kid.
Correct. So there's research that's out there that states that educating the students around 13 to 14 years old about employment and post-secondary opportunities for them should start early, because that way we have a long time, well, not really a long time, but we have until senior year to work with the students to decide what employment will work best with them. Is post-secondary education is going to be an option? What about apprenticeships? Is that going to be an option? Just because you have a disability, it doesn't mean that you cannot work. There's a job somewhere out there for you if you want to work.
Exactly. And I'm sure you've seen it all, but what do you see as being one of the big struggles?
Well, back to what you're saying, lack of not having the knowledge to know that it's stuff out there, stuff such as assistive technology. There's equipment out there that could help someone. Like your son has sensory issues. Is it something that we can do with the lights? If your son is working in an office, can we do something with the lights? Can we have dark sun canceling curtains? There's stuff out there. Some of it's cheap and some of it is not. Maybe, we have somebody with hearing cochlear implants, or maybe the other way, they don't like noises, headphones, earplugs, keyboards, vision issues with the computer, software, Dragon Naturally Speaking, Read and Write Gold is my best friend. So there's stuff out there, the lack of not knowing what's out there. And another thing I like to bring up too is sometimes parents and guardians will tell their child, they can't work. Fear of the unknown, I like to call it. One reason may be you'll lose your Social Security. One reason may be, they'll laugh and make fun of you.
Got to give them a backbone and be like, okay, well, yeah, that might be funny to you, but I'm working, I'm making money. My kids are weird though, LaToya. My kids are strange. Someone laughs at them and they sit there and they go, okay, yeah, that was funny. I was kind of a dork. It's fine. They do. They really do. So how long have you been in VR?
Well, I've been with the state of VR over 5 years. I started out as a general voc rehab counselor down in Huntington County. I transferred to the Fort Wayne office, and then I transferred to the voc rehab youth services department.
So you've been around the block. You've seen a few things.
Oh, I've seen a few things, turned the block corners a couple of times. I also have a background in education too. So I've done a stunt at Fort Wayne Community Schools. I've done a stunt at Crossroads Children's Home. I work with I used to volunteer at a place called the Eagle's Nest on the southeast side of Fort Wayne that had inner city youth. So I used to do a STEM program there, after school program, science, technology, engineering, and math. And then we did homework tutoring there too. Also worked at the YMCA.
Well, I wanted to tell you that this is very helpful, and hopefully this answers some of our family's questions over Pre-ETS. And if you have more, we will definitely share in the show notes some links on where to go and who to contact for sure. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate you coming on and telling us a little bit more about Pre-ETS.
Well, thank you for having me, and you're welcome.
This next segment, you may be an autism parent if you've ever legitly panicked over a missing iPad. If you would like to submit a You May Be an Autism Parent If, please call us at 260-207-4686 and leave us a message. Maybe you'll hear it on our next podcast.
Thanks for listening. Please stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, and sign up for our newsletter at myautismally.org. Talk with you next time at the My Autism Ally podcast.